Here are 5 tips you can copy from the Holger Rune two-handed backhand to help improve your backhand. Now, this video is courtesy of 12K GP Tennis on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to their awesome channel. I've put their link in the description below. All right, so let's watch this backhand 3 times. So there's no doubt Holger has got clean technique. Super fan of all of his strokes. So let's look at the first thing, and it really starts every stroke, and that's the grip. We can see a grip change. Watch right here. His strings are tilted down. That means he's waiting in a forehand grip in his ready position. But then he sees Chapo hit the ball to his backhand, and look at his grip change. Watch his racket rotate. Watch his racket turn. That right there is the grip change. Let me show you what grips he uses. And Holger uses some really classic grips. So when it comes to the hand, you want to place the base knuckle and the heel pad on panel number 2. That's this 45-degree angle panel. So this is a continental grip, and that's what he uses for his bottom hand. And for his top hand, he uses an Eastern forehand. So he puts the knuckle and heel pad on panel number 7. So that is the grip that I would recommend. It's actually the grips that I use. Super classic grip, really easy to use that for your two-hander. Now, the second idea is to take the racket back 180 degrees at head level. So look, his racket is all the way behind him. So like his hitting partner cannot see, I think it's Shapovalov actually. Chapo cannot see the head of his racket. And at this point right here, notice his racket is at head level. In fact, if we go one frame earlier, we can actually see Holger's ear through the string bed. Film yourself from the back and see when you take your racket back 180 degrees where the racket is. Is the racket down here? Is the racket, more medium, or is the racket high? If you can take it high, then you get gravity-assisted racket speed, and as the racket falls, it never has to slow down. It can actually speed up to contact. Players who take the racket down immediately down here have to stop the racket in order to get it to go back to the ball again, and that can make you late for deep and fast shots from the opponent. So try taking the racket back high, 180 degrees, with the tip of the racket pointing up like that, and then drop from there. You'll feel easy power and gravity-assisted racket speed. Now, to that end, the third tip is try using a continuous swing. You'll notice from right here, his racket never pauses, meaning his racket never stops to get to contact. He just takes it high, circles around, and goes. Now, that's only possible if you take the racket back high to use that, that continuous swing. So try taking the racket back high, but see if you can time it so that it's circular. You'll notice that the timing here is around the time the ball peaks. That is when the racket begins to drop. So watch this. Ball peaks, that's when he drops the racket. That's different, by the way, than on a forehand. On the forehand, you tend to drop the racket around the time the ball bounces. Now, again, that's all based on the speed and the depth of the shot. But there are basic differences in the timing of the forehand and backhand. You can check out. In fact, at the end of this video, I'll put a little picture here. You know what I mean? A clickable video that you can click on to talk about the differences between the Felix Auger-Aliassime timing on the forehand and backhand. I think you'll really, really enjoy that. But you'll see that around the time the ball bounces, that's when he then begins dropping the racket. So take the racket back at a slower pace maybe than normal so that when it's at head level, the ball is peaking, and then you can drop and absolutely obliterate the backhand. Now, number 4, close the racket face down below contact. Check this out. Look at his racket. Racket face is closed, right? So his strings are tilted down toward the ground and his racket is below contact. In fact, you'll kind of notice here his right wrist. See how the right wrist is buckled over? Now, the reason that is happening is because the body rotation was occurring while the racket was dropping. So he is rotating the body as the racket's dropping. And what does that mean? Since his body is rotating, it's pulling his hands forward, but the weight of the racket's going down. So what compromises? The wrist, and the wrist buckles. You'll see Djokovic do the exact same thing. You don't want to force, by the way, that wrist buckle, but the closing of the racket face can actually happen naturally because the body rotates and because the grip is right, all that stuff. But if you rotate the body as the racket is dropping, closing the racket face is much, much easier. If you still struggle closing the racket face, then just feel your left hand, and that's if you're right-handed, your top hand. So for him, it's his left hand. Feel that palm facing toward the ground, because since that's an Eastern grip, it's going to face the same direction as the strings. So feel your palm facing slightly toward the ground, then you'll get your strings to face slightly toward the ground. The reason closing the racket face is important is it allows you to swing out away from your body, low to high, and get topspin. You want your strings facing forward, and if you swing really fast, you can get away with your strings being ever so slightly closed as you're striking the ball. That's only going to happen with consistency as a recreational player if your racket's closed prior to contact, and then you can swing up through. This is how they get massive amounts of topspin. And the last thing you can check out with your two-handed backhand is hold the finish like this. Have your back foot turn up on the toe, which signifies that you rotated the hips. Finish with your hands at head level, or I should say at the top of your head. Notice all the space under his right armpit as a righty. That means he lifted from the shoulders and wasn't just bending the elbows like he's doing a bicep curl. But how do you know if you're doing all these things? You're going to go out and film yourself. Check the grip. Check that you're taking the racket back high. Use a circular swing. Close the racket face down below contact and hit and hold the finish like you're in a Vic Braden Tennis 2000 book. Now, the best way to practice these techniques is at home with a Topspin Pro. You can get a Topspin Pro using my link in the description. I'm also going to pin it in the first comment. I absolutely love the Topspin Pro, and I know you will too. And if you're looking for people in your local area to play matches against or practice with, or you want to find a coach who's close to you who can help you with your game, then use my link for PlayYourCourt. And it's playyourcourt.com/2-minute-tennis. When you use my link to sign up, you get 50% off. And by the way, if you want me to personally fix your technique once and for all, sign up for a video stroke analysis lesson. I'll teach you exactly what you need to do in order to improve your backhand, your serve, your strategy, your footwork, any part of your game. Go to 2minutetennis.net, sign up for a video stroke analysis lesson or a Zoom private lesson today. Make your two-handed backhand more like Holger's, and there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.